Hi, this is Maverick Truck Mods, and today we're going to be installing a catch can on our 2022 Ford Maverick EcoBoost engine. The catch can that we're going to be installing is a vented catch can. There's two types that you'll see most commonly. One is a sealed and one is a vented. There are a ton of videos explaining why you might want a catch can on a direct injected engine such as the EcoBoost. So I'm not going to do the full spiel on that, but I will show you how this is going to be installed on the engine and what the general purpose of it is going to be. So this is the EcoBoost engine, and this tubing right here is what most people are going to be dealing with for catch can installations. Comes off the top of the engine and goes into the intake, and that's where some of that vapor that's escaping with some of the oily stuff in it is going back into the intake, and that's what people are trying to avoid. So a sealed catch can is going to attach here with one tube. It's going to have the tube run up to the catch can. Catch can is going to have that vapor circulate, try and collect the stuff out of it, turn it into moisture, and send the cleaned air back into your intake. A vented catch can is going to do the same thing, have the tube come up and off of that, but instead of sending the air back into the intake, after it's gone through the catch can, it's going to go up through a filter and out. So there's no risk of any of that stuff going back into your intake. On the one we're installing, there's also a hose that's going to run over here to your oil filler cap, and they actually have a 3D printed part we're going to put in there to replace that. Has a little vent, and that's going to vent crankcase pressure. So this is the catch can, and this is the chamber I was talking about. It's got the steel wool type of material in there. The air gets flushed in, zips around, collects the moisture, collects in here. You'll build up some mixture. It's going to be oil and gasoline and water vapor and other things. And then what you're going to do is you're going to drain it as it fills up to a certain point, and I don't know the intervals yet. It'll depend on your driving habits and all that. And this is going to have a little nut, and you have to use some wrenches, undo this. You drain it out, put it in a cup, and then you can recycle it. The venting part of it's going to come out here. This is your filter on the top that's going to collect any additional material, and then the air can escape. This is going to go to the top of the engine where those gases are coming out. They're going to be directed in. We're going to cap over on the other side on the intake. This tube is going to run to your oil filler location, and then they have a little 3D printed oil cap replacement that's going to go in. You take your O-ring off of your oil cap and put it on here. That screws in. This pops into there. You can still unscrew this and add oil, so it doesn't block that at all, and that's where your crankcase pressure can be vented. So let's get the install going. There's one bolt that attaches this. It's uses a pre-existing bolt in your car, so it's very easy to attach. I'll show you guys how to hook it up. So we're going to mount in the front left corner of the engine bay here as we're looking towards the vehicle, and you'll see a bolt down here. That is the mount. This is what we're going to mount to. So we're going to undo that bolt, put our bracket on, and just tighten it back down. So you can see the bracket here. We just lay that down and just put the bolt straight through, tighten it down. It just will angle out slightly out here. There's a little bit of an edge here, and so it'll just come right on that edge. So this shows the install of the housing pretty well from this angle. You can see it's in here. Slight amount of separation between this tube and the catch can. Your drain tube, you just route it down so it's not touching anything. And then your two hoses are going to come off, and now we'll hook those up. So the first hose we're going to hook up is going to go to our oil filler cap area. We're just going to take our oil filler cap out, and I'll show you how we put the ring on the other one. So we need to remove this O-ring. We just want to get underneath it, and it'll just stretch out, and then we can pull it off. So we've moved the O-ring onto the 3D printed cap, and then we're just going to push this up into here until it clicks, pops in. Now we can insert our replacement cap and just tighten down, and that part is ready to go. So the second hose hookup's going to be a little more complicated, but nothing too bad. As mentioned before, we're going to put a cap over here. So we're going to remove this connection over here completely. This one we're going to leave in place. Do not remove this one. You're going to actually cut the hose. You're going to kind of split the hose as it goes up to here. You want to cut it very gently and carefully. There is an O-ring underneath here that we're going to reuse underneath the hose, but we're going to remove the hose off so that our new hose can go on over top of this, and we're going to reuse that existing O-ring. So again, don't remove this one, but we are going to remove this one completely. Getting these things off of there is notoriously difficult. I'm not going to show the whole process basically, but you're going to try and wedge it off with your screwdriver or a little pick. You will break them. They're pretty much a throwaway part. They're about $12 to replace. So if you ever do want to go back to stock, They're not very expensive. It's easy to put them back on. Anyway, I'm going to skip that part, but I'll show you once I have this one removed, and then we'll show you a little bit of the trimming to get to the O-ring underneath here. We've removed the hose from this side on the intake, and now we're going to use this little cap. Just pushes on there and caps that off. Here's the connector that we left on, and now you can see the hose has been removed, basically as mentioned. Razor blade along the top until it was weak. I made sure not to cut deep on the blue part. I weakened it on both sides and then just peeled it with some pliers until it just poof, snapped off. I'm going to put the hose on the clamp on there and then I'll show you how that looks. So this is our final install. We've got the catch can over here. Our drain tube, I ended up just kind of routing it upwards and it's not touching anything and it won't hit the hood or anything. So that's out of the way. And there we go.